All right, we are back in the Bible in 52 weeks, a year-long Bible study for women. We are going to get up from here, starting back at 2 Kings chapter 3. We're going to go all the way to chapter 7. Moab revolts. Joram, son of Ahab, became king of Israel in Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and he reigned 12 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, but not as his father and mother had done. He got rid of the sacred stone of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless, he clung to the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. He did not turn away from them. Now Mesha, king of Moab, raised sheep, and he had to pay the king of Israel a tribute of 100,000 lambs and the wool of 100,000 rams. But after Ahab died, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel, so that at that time King Joram set out from Samaria and mobilized all Israel. He also sent this message to Jehoshaphat, king of Judah: the king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go with me to fight against Moab? I will go with you, he replied. I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. By what route shall we attack? He asked. Through the desert of Edom, he answered. So the king of Israel set out with the king of Judah and the king of Edom. After a roundabout march of 7 days, the army had no more water for themselves or for the animals with them. What? Exclaimed the king of Israel. Has the Lord called us 3 kings together only to deliver us into the hands of Moab? But Jehoshaphat asked, Is there no prophet of the Lord here, through whom we may inquire about the Lord? An officer of the king of Israel answered, Elisha, son of Shaphat, is here. He used to pour water on the hands of Elijah. Jehoshaphat said, The word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him. Elisha said to the king of Israel, Why do you want to involve me? Go to the prophets of your father and the prophets of your mother. No, the king of Israel answered, because it was the Lord who called us 3 kings together to deliver us into the hands of Moab. Elisha said, As surely as the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, if I did not have respect for the presence of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, I would not pay any attention to you. But now bring me a harpist. While the harpist was playing, the hand of the Lord came on Elisha, and he said, This is what the Lord says, I will fill this valley with pools of water. For this is what the Lord says, You will see neither wind nor rain, yet this valley will be filled with water, and you, your cattle, and your other animals will drink. This is an easy thing in the eyes of the Lord. He will also deliver Moab into your hands. You will overthrow every fortified city and every major town. You will cut down every good tree, stop up all the springs, and ruin every good field with stones. We're just going to pause here for a second, because when I tell you God is so consistent, he gathered 3 kings. These numbers matter. The numbers matter. He gathered these 3 kings. He had them marching for 7 days. They had no water. They were fasting. God consecrated them. And then they expressed their outcry to God. And he answered them through Elisha. And this is what I've noticed about a lot of the battles. The battles had a level of consecration, a level of holiness. He has to set us apart to be holy. God has new revelation to my life the past 32 days. God is so good. Yes, he is. Amen. He has to set you apart. Two days, not 32. It's okay. That is a significant amount of days. But yes, we have to remember that God is in control and that he's going to never leave nor forsake you. And he's so merciful. He's so merciful. And I love how Elisha here tested them and said, go to the prophets of your father and your mother. And they said, no, we need God himself. We need the Lord. That's beautiful. It's like something like this, I would have just read over it, not think anything about it. But now it's like I'm slowing down. I'm seeing a pattern, and I love noticing patterns on here. Okay, picking back up at verse 20. The next morning, about the time for offering the sacrifice, there it was, water flowing from the direction of Edom, and the land was filled with water. Now all the Moabites had heard that the kings had come to fight against them. So every man, young and old, who could bear arms was called up and stationed on the border. When they got up early in the morning, the sun was shining on the water. To the Moabites across the way, the water looked red like blood. That's blood, they said. Those kings must have fought and slaughtered each other. Now to the plunder, Moab. But when the Moabites came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and fought them until they fled. And the Israelites invaded the land and slaughtered the Moabites. They destroyed the towns, and each man threw a stone on every good field until it was covered. They stopped up all the springs and cut down every good tree. Only Kir Hareseth was left with its stones in place. But men armed with slings surrounded it and attacked it. When the king of Moab saw that the battle had gone against him, he took with him 700 swordsmen to break through to the king of Edom, but they failed. Then he took his firstborn son, who was to succeed him as king, and offered him as a sacrifice on the city wall. The fury against Israel was great. They withdrew and returned to their own land. We knew the Moabites to sacrifice children to their king, to their God. But for the king, in all his selfishness, he offered his own son. And where did that get him? Nowhere. It just shows you how wicked that is. 2 Kings chapter 4. The widow's olive oil. The wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, "Your servant my husband is dead, and you know that he revered the Lord. But now his creditor is coming to take my 2 boys as his slaves. Elisha replied to her, "How can I help you? Tell me what you have in your house." "Your servant has nothing there at all except a small jar of olive oil." Elisha said, "Go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour oil into all the jars, and as each is filled, put it to one side." She left him and shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. When all the jars were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another one." But he replied, "There is not a jar left." Then the oil stopped flowing. She went and told the man of God, and he said, "Go and sell the oil and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what is left." The Shunammite's son restored to life. One day, Elisha went to Shunem, and a well-to-do woman was there who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat. She said to her husband, "I know that this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let's make a small room on the roof and put it in a bed and a table, a chair, and a lamp for him. Then he can stay there whenever he comes to us." Just want to pause for a second on the woman with the oil. I don't know what this woman was expecting as far as what his instructions were. But it speaks back to the Proverbs 31 woman. Yes, it describes a married woman. However, a single woman or a widowed woman should have that same mindset. Always have another source of income. And this is something more of like a small business, or what we like to call a side hustle. It's not a bad thing to have something on the side, something that can still satisfy those that you owe, because God is not going to tell you don't pay what you owe. What is to Caesar, give back to Caesar. So if she owes someone, she should still be able to pick things back up. And he just gave her the resources. It's really, it may seem like a small miracle, but it's a miracle nonetheless. The fact that she was able to get what she needed, and with the help of her neighbors, realizing that you have people around you, whether you realize it or not. There are people around you that will support you, that will help you. So the way that she used her resources that were readily available to her, and God supplying that on top of that, helped her prosper and take care of her loved ones. So remembering that God always gives us a way out, in that sense of, trust in him, but don't be afraid to use what is around you. Don't be afraid to use what you have, to be resourceful, to be quick to recover, because us women, we have a lot of talent. We can do many things. We can sell things. We can offer services in different ways. There's so many different things for us that we can do as women. If you're really skilled at cooking, you can be a cook for somebody. You can help kitchens. You can help for catering events. There's so many. Or you can cook in your own home. Cook what you have and create your business that way. You can make clothing. There's so many things that we can do. We just have to be willing to use those skills that God gives us. Now with myself, I'm a writer. I can write. I have a skill in writing, and I also have a skill in speaking and reading. Clearly, I'm reading now. So It's just more so, what am I willing to do to use that skill so that I can supply what my family needs at the end of the day, whether I have a husband or don't have a husband. So I can still use my skills and not feel that I'm at a loss. So God definitely supplies those with those skills so that you can still take care of yourself. So just remember that. Let's snooze that ad. All right. Picking back up at verse 11. One day when Elisha came, he went up to his room and lay down there. He said to his servant Gehazi, "Call the Shunammite." So he called her, and she stood before him. Elisha said to him, "Tell her, have you gone to all this trouble for us? Now what can be done for you? Can we speak on your behalf to the king or the commander of the army?" She replied, "I have a home among my own people." "What can be done for her?" Elisha asked. Gehazi said, "She has no son, and her husband is old." Then Elisha said, "Call her." So he called her, and she stood in the doorway. "About this time next year," Elisha said, "you will hold a son in your arms." "No, my lord," she objected. "Please, man of God, don't mislead your servant." But the woman became pregnant, and the next year, about that same time, she gave birth to a son, just as Elisha had told her. The child grew, and one day he went out to his father, who was with the reapers. He said to his father, "My head, my head." His father told a servant, "Carry him to his mother." After the servant had lifted him up and carried him to his mother, the boy sat on her lap until noon. Then he died. She went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, then shut the door and went out. She called her husband and said, "Please send me one of the servants and a donkey so I can go to the man of God quickly and return." "Why go to him today?" he asked. "It's not the new moon or the Sabbath." "That's all right," she said. She saddled the donkey and said to her servant, "Lead on, don't slow down for me unless I tell you." So she set out and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. Then he saw her in the distance. The man of God said to his servant Gehazi, "Look, there's a Shunammite. Run to meet her and ask her, 'Are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is your child all right?'" "Everything is all right," she said. When she reached the man of God at the mountain, she took hold of his feet. Gehazi came over to push her away, but the man of God said, "Leave her alone. She is in bitter distress. But the Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me why." "Did I ask you for a son, my lord?" she said. "Didn't I tell you, don't raise my hopes?" Elisha said to Gehazi, "Tuck your cloak into your belt, take my staff in your hand, and run. Don't greet anyone you meet, and if anyone greets you, do not answer. Lay my staff on the boy's face." But the child's mother said, "Surely as the Lord lives, and as you live, I will not leave you." So he got up and followed her. Gehazi went on ahead and laid the staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound or response. So Gehazi went back to meet Elisha and told him, "The boy has not awakened." When Elisha reached the house, there was the boy lying dead on his couch. He went in, shut the door on the two of them, and prayed to the Lord. Then he got on the bed and lay on the boy, mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands. As he stretched himself out on him, the body's boy grew warm. Elisha turned away and walked back and forth in the room, and then got on the bed and stretched out on him once more. The boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Elisha summoned Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite." And he did. When she came, he said, "Go, take your son." She came in, fell at his feet, bowed to the ground. Then she took her son and went out. Death in the pot. Elisha returned to Gilgal, and there was a famine in that region. While the company of the prophets was meeting with him, he said to his servant, "Put on the large pot and cook some stew for these prophets." One of them went out into the fields to gather herbs and found a wild vine, and picked as many of its gourds as his garment could hold. When he returned, he cut them up into the pot of stew, though no one knew what they were. The stew was poured out for the men as they began to eat it. They cried out, "Man of God, there is death in the pot," and they could not eat it. Elisha said, "Get some flour." He put into the pot and said, "Serve it to the people to eat." And there was nothing harmful in the pot. Feeding of 100. A man came from Baal Shalisha, bringing the man of God 20 loaves of barley bread baked from the first ripe grain, along with some heads of new grain. "Give it to the people to eat," Elisha said. "How can I set this before 100 men?" his servant asked. But Elisha answered, "Give it to the people to eat, for this is what the Lord says. They will eat and have some left over." Then he set it before them, and they ate and have some left over, according to the word of the Lord. I never noticed that. I did not notice how Elisha did the feeding of 100, where Jesus did the feeding of thousands. That's wonderful. I'm gonna have to put that in my note so I don't forget. I always like looking for parallels. Second Kings 4:42. All right. 2 Kings chapter 5. Naaman healed of leprosy. Now Naaman was commander of the army of the king of Aram. He was a great man in the sight of his master and highly regarded, because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. He was a valiant soldier, but he had leprosy. Now bands of raiders from Aram had gone out and had taken captive a young girl from Israel. She served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." Naaman went to his master and told him what the girl from Israel had said. "By all means, go." The king of Aram replied, "I will send a letter to the king of Israel." So Naaman left, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. The letter that he took to the king of Israel read, "With this letter I am sending my servant Naaman to you, so that you may cure him of his leprosy." As soon as the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his robes and said, "Am I God? Can I kill and bring back to life? Why does this fellow send someone to me to be cured of his leprosy? See how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me." When Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his robes, he sent him this message: "Why have you torn your robes? Have the man come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and stopped at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, "Go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed." But Naaman went away angry and said, "I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, waved his hand over the spot, and cure me of my leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Couldn't I wash in them and be cleansed?" So he turned and went off in a rage. Now. We cannot pick. We cannot choose. Haven't we heard that term? Beggars can't be choosers. You cannot choose how God heals you, whether it be mentally, spiritually, or physically. We cannot choose. We cannot sit here and say, "Well, God, I want to do it this way," or "Can't you just do this? Wouldn't this be much easier?" No. God has his way. We have to trust in him in everything that he does. God knows what is best. We cannot become arrogant, prideful, stubborn. And even, some people think, well, these were simple things, like the woman and the oil, when she ended up selling that oil. That seemed like a simple solution. And him going into the Jordan, it's a simple solution. But God does not have to work his miracles the way that you think. Your ways are smaller than his ways. Your thoughts are smaller than his thoughts. We don't get to pick and choose. So what we think is small is actually very, very big. It's a big way. That woman was able to take care of her children. That's a big deal to a lot of us women who love our children and who want to be able to provide for our children and provide for ourselves. That's a beautiful, wonderful, big thing. That's a miracle. Just because it's not grand and majestic and smoke and mirrors, just because it's not like that, that doesn't mean it's any less. A blessing is a blessing. You should take it for what it is. And be thankful. There's a lot of issues with contentment here. But we have to be thankful in everything and acknowledge him and give him all the glory in everything. That's why I thank him for breathing. A lot of people don't thank him for breathing. They complain. They're ready to say, I'm done with this life. This life is so annoying, or I'm just tired of these people. Okay, but weren't you the same person who begged to have a job, to beg to have money, to be able to save up, to take care of certain things around the house, take care of certain things that you needed? You begged for that job, but you're complaining about it. And this is me too. I'm talking to myself. Talking to me too. So let's never forget what God has done. Picking back up on verse 13. Naaman's servants went to him and said, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he tells you, 'Wash and be cleansed'?" So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him. His flesh was restored and became clean like that of a young boy. Then Naaman and all his attendants went back to the man of God. He stood before him and said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel. So please accept a gift from your servant." The prophet answered, "As surely as the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will not accept a thing." And even though Naaman urged him, he refused. "If you will not," said Naaman, "please let me, your servant, be given as much earth as a pair of mules can carry, for your servant will never again make burnt offerings and sacrifices to any other god but the Lord. But may the Lord forgive your servant for this one thing. When my master enters the temple of Rimmon to bow down, and he is leaning on my arm, I have to bow there also. When I bow down in the temple of Rimmon, may the Lord forgive your servant for this." "Go in peace," Elisha said. After Naaman had traveled some distance, Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said to himself, "My master was too easy on Naaman, this Aramean, by not accepting from him what he brought. As surely as the Lord lives, I will run after him and get something from him." So Gehazi hurried after Naaman. When Naaman saw him running toward him, he got down from the chariot to meet him. "Is everything all right?" he asked. "Everything is all right," Gehazi answered. "My master sent me to say, 2 young men from the company of the prophets have just come to me from the hill country of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 sets of clothing." "By all means, take 2 talents," said Naaman. He urged Gehazi to accept them, then tied up the 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 sets of clothing. He gave them to 2 of his servants, and they carried them ahead of Gehazi. When Gehazi came to the hill, he took the things from the servants and put them away in the house. He sent the men away, and they left. When he went in and stood before his master, Elijah asked, "Where have you been, Gehazi?" "Your servant didn't go anywhere," Gehazi answered. But Elisha said to him, "Was not my spirit with you when the man got down from his chariot to meet you? Is this the time to take money or accept clothes or olive groves and vineyards or flocks and herds or male and female slaves? Naaman's leprosy will cling to you and to your descendants forever." Then Gehazi went from Elisha's presence, and his skin was leprous. It had become white as snow. We have to realize, ladies, when you are serving the Lord, serve him humbly. Serve him without expectation of receiving anything back. God loves a cheerful giver. Be cheerful in your giving and expect nothing in return. When someone naturally wants to give you something out of the goodness of their heart, then that's different. But when you're out doing this, expecting something, that is not serving the Lord with cheerfulness, with gladness. And Gehazi was a perfect example here, where he was not content with helping other people because of his own greed. Greed is not the way to go. It's not the type of mindset that God has for our lives. Not once did you see Jesus saying, go gather, you know, go gather funds from everybody that got healed today. He was healing the poor. He was healing those who had nothing. He didn't expect anything from these people. He fed those thousands of people expecting nothing. Jesus was showing that as an example. When we serve him, when we do things for him, expect nothing in return. Do it because you love the Lord. And because he tells us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Would you charge yourself for something kind? No, because it's out of kindness. Kindness does not have a price. Second Kings chapter 6. An axe head floats. The company of the prophets said to Elisha, look, the place where we meet with you is too small for us. Let us go to the Jordan, where each of us can get a pole, and let us build a place there for us to meet. And he said, go. Then one of them said, won't you please come with your servants? I will, Elisha replied, and he went with them. They went to the Jordan and began to cut down trees. As one of them was cutting down a tree, the iron axe head fell into the water. No, oh no, my lord, he cried out. It was borrowed. The man of God asked, where did it fall? When he showed him the place, Elisha cut a stick and threw it there and made the iron float. Lift it out, he said. Then the man reached out his hand and took it. Elisha traps blinded Arameans. Now the king of Aram was at war with Israel. After conferring with his officers, he said, I will set up my camp in such place. The man of God sent word to the king of Israel, beware of passing that place, because the Arameans are going down there. So the king of Israel checked on the place indicated by the man of God. Time and again, Elisha warned the king, so that he was on his guard in such places. This enraged the king of Aram. He summoned his officers and demanded of them, tell me, which of us is on the side of the king of Israel? None of us, my lord the king, said one of his officers. But Elisha the prophet who is in Israel tells the king of Israel the very words you speak in your bedroom. Go find out where he is. The king ordered, so I can send men and capture him. The report came back. He is in Dothan. Then he sent horses and chariots and a strong force there. They went by night and surrounded the city. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early in the next morning, an army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. Oh no, my lord, what shall we do? The servant asked. Don't be afraid, the prophet answered. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And Elisha prayed, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. As the enemy came down toward him, Elisha prayed to the Lord, strike this army with blindness. So he struck them with blindness, as Elisha had asked. Elisha told them, this is not the road and this is not the city. Follow me, and I will lead you to the man you are looking for. And he led them to Samaria. After they entered the city, Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men so they can see. Then the Lord opened their eyes, and they looked, and there they were inside Samaria. When the king of Israel saw them, he asked Elisha, "Shall I kill them, my father? Shall I kill them?" "Do not kill them," he answered. "Would you kill those you have captured with your own sword or bow? Set food and water before them so that they may eat and drink, then go back to their master." So he prepared a great feast for them, and after they had finished eating and drinking, he sent them away, and they returned to their master. So the bands from Aram stopped raiding Israel's territory. Famine in besieged Samaria. Sometime later, Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, mobilized his entire army and marched up and laid siege to Samaria. There was a great famine in the city. The siege lasted so long that the donkey's head sold for 80 shekels of silver and a quarter of a cab of seed pots for 5 shekels. As the king of Israel was passing by on the wall, a woman cried to him, "Help me, my lord the king." The king replied, "If the Lord does not help you, where can I get help for you? From the threshing floor? From the winepress?" Then he asked her, "What's the matter?" She answered, "This woman said to me, 'Give up your son, so we may eat him today, and tomorrow we'll eat my son.' So we cooked my son and ate him. The next day I said to her, 'Give up your son, so we may eat him.' But she had hidden him." When the king heard the woman's words, he tore his robes. As he went along the wall, the people looked and saw that under his robes he had sackcloth on his body. He said, "May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if the head of Elisha, son of Shaphat, remains on his shoulders today." Now Elisha was sitting in his house, and the elders were sitting with him. The king sent a messenger ahead, but before he arrived, Elisha said to the elders, "Don't you see how this murderer is sending someone to cut off my head? Look, when the messenger comes, shut the door and hold it shut against him. Is not the sound of his master's footsteps behind him?" While he was still talking to them, the messenger came down to him. The king said, "This disaster is from the Lord. Why should I wait for the Lord any longer?" Second Kings chapter 7. Elisha replied, "Hear the word of the Lord. This is what the Lord says. About this time tomorrow, a seah of the finest flour will sell for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel at the gate of Samaria." The officer on whose arm the king was leaning said to the man of God, "Look, even if the Lord should open the floodgates of the heavens, could this happen? You will see it with your own eyes," answered Elisha, "but you will not eat any of it." The siege lifted. Now there were 4 men with leprosy at the entrance of the city gate. They said to each other, "Why stay here until we die? If we say we'll go into the city, the famine is there, and we will die. And if we stay here, we will die. So let's go over to the camp of the Arameans and surrender. If they spare us, we live. If they kill us, then we die." At dusk they got up and went to the camp of the Arameans. When they reached the edge of the camp, no one was there, for the Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army, so that they said to one another, "Look, the king of Israel has hired the Hittite and Egyptian kings to attack us." So they got up and fled in the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and donkeys. They left the camp as it was and ran for their lives. The men who had leprosy reached the edge of the camp, entered one of the tents, ate and drank. Then he took silver, gold, and clothes and went off and hid them. They returned and entered another tent and took some things from it and hid them also. Then they said to each other, what we're doing is not right. This is the day of good news, and we are keeping it to ourselves. If we wait until daylight, punishment will overtake us. Let us go at once and report this to the royal palace." So they went and called out to the city gatekeepers and told them, "We went to the Aramean camp, and no one was there, not a sound of anyone, only tethered horses and donkeys and tents left just as they were." The gatekeepers shouted the news, and it was reported in the palace. The king got up in the night and said to his officers, "I will tell you what the Arameans have done to us. They know we are starving, so they have left the camp to hide in the countryside, thinking this they will surely come out, and they will take them alive and get into the city." One of the officers answered, "Have some men take 5 of the horses that are left in the city. Their plight will be like that of all the Israelites left here. Yes, they will only be like these Israelites who are doomed. Let us send some to find out what happened." So they selected 2 chariots with their horses. The king sent them after the Aramean army. He commanded the drivers, "Go and find out what has happened." They followed them as far as the Jordan and found the whole road strewn with the clothing and equipment the Arameans had thrown away in their headlong flight. So the messengers returned and reported to the king. Then the people went out and plundered the camp of the Arameans. So a seah of the finest flour sold for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley sold for a shekel, as the Lord had said. Now the king had put an officer on whose arm he leaned in charge of the gate, and the people trampled him in the gateway. And he died, just as the man of God had foretold when the king came down to his house. It happened as the man of God had said to the king, "About this time tomorrow, a seah of the finest flour will sell for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel at the gate of Samaria." The officer had said to the man of God, "Look, even if the Lord should open the floodgates of the heavens, could this happen?" And the man of God replied, "You will see it with your own eyes, but you will not eat any of it." And that is exactly what happened to him, for all the people trampled him in the gateway, and he died. We're going to pause it from there, and we'll be back next week to read further into this new week that we are in. And I forgot to say the title. The title of this week, 20 is Bouncing Back. And we'll pick back up to read over the Bible study portion of this book. Okay. I do want to say the benediction. If you could just lift your hands up to receive. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. God bless, and I'll see you next time.